Hey, howdy hey, and welcome back to Emily's Adventures in Horrorland. And it's Halloween night! Or it should be, if I can get the editing done in time. I hate editing, it's so laborious. But yes, this is also a special occasion for me because it's the 1 year anniversary of this YouTube channel. 1 year ago today, when I put up my first video review of Coraline. And please do not go away and watch that, it's embarrassing. I wanted to do this video in costume as well, as Carrie, but I couldn't get the fake blood in time, and the costume just didn't come together, and I'm very, very sorry, but we'll just go ahead as normal, no costume. Just kidding! Hey, look at me! I did it! With a little help from my grandparents. Pretty pleased with it overall, except for this contact lens, which is going to be off-centre for the duration. Sorry about that. Party Planet won't be open again until tomorrow. Today's movie, in case you couldn't guess, is the 1976 original adaptation of Stephen King's Carrie, or Cinderella if she used her powers with a vengeance, and also if her powers were telekinesis instead of talking to animals. Where was I going with this? Carrie definitely qualifies as a horror icon. And do you know how I can tell? Because the front cover of the DVD is a massive spoiler. Everybody knows what happens to Carrie White at the climax of this film. We know what you came to see, so here you go. Dress covered in blood, prom hall on fire. That pretty much sums it up. Actually, dear Carrietta has far more going for her than that. She is one of very few characters who can actually, Jeff the Killer, be sympathetic as well as terrifying. So, shall we see how this was done? Yes, we shall. The film starts with volleyball. We learn that Carrie hits like a girl, and so of course the entire team is mad at her. And she herself looks as though she's being pursued by that invisible assailant, the horribly slow murderer with the extremely inefficient weapon. Indeed, Sissy Spacek based her performance on the postures of people being stoned to death for their sins. And it certainly comes across. That is a lot of naked teenagers. Hoo, lordy loo, I'm not sure I have that many sense of ours. Carrie has a shower herself, for almost a minute, when all of a sudden she gets her period for the first time. At age 17, you could consider her a late bloomer. Unfortunately, Carrie has no idea what's happening to her, imagines she's dying, and runs to the other girls for help. This does not go well. Not even the teacher believes that Carrie is ignorant of her own circumstances and rather roughly tells her to clean herself up. Ooh, here we go, first surge of power. Carrie manages to manifest her powers twice more that day. Once when the principal calls her into the office to call her by the wrong name 3 times.
Come in, Cassie.
Carrie.
Take care of yourself, Cassie. We're all sorry about this incident, Cassie.
It's Carrie!
What an asshole. And then again when a boy on a bike makes fun of her.
Creepy Carrie! Creepy Carrie!
I wonder where all this could be leading. Meanwhile, Carrie's mother Margaret, a religious nut, in Stephen King's own words, is out spreading the good faith, and when she gets home is told of the incident with her daughter in the showers.
And God made Eve from the rib of Adam.
And she chastises Carrie for the sin of puberty.
Say it.
No.
A raven was called sin.
Ooh, woman, and the raven was called sin.
Say it.
No, Mama.
Eve was weak.
No.
Eve was weak.
No.
Eve was weak. Say it.
No.
I'm pretty sure that's not actually in the Bible. I'd go and check my copy if I had one. If Carrie knows that her mother is just making this stuff up, she doesn't say so, but is clearly tired of having to get on her knees to pray every 30 minutes. So Margaret locks Carrie in her closet to think about the thing she did, which she has no control over. But apparently women are evil, and so they must be punished. Man, that is one creepy Jesus. Alright, I know it's Saint Sebastian, keep your knickers on. We see quite clearly that Carrie's life is hell. But up until this point, it's a hell that she's had to get used to. She has no friends, so it's unlikely that she's seen anything to compare to her mother's own unique methods of upbringing. She also appears to care for her mother, in spite of the torrent of emotional abuse. But she's not completely spineless, as we'll see later in the movie, and her telekinetic powers are a big part of that. Oh look, another creepy Jesus. Now that gym teacher who slapped Carrie in the face gives the other girls a severe talking to, and threatens to take away their prom tickets. Then she brings their sentence down to a week's worth of detentions, and if they don't turn up, then she'll prevent them from going to prom. Now here's a teacher who knows how to deal out discipline. Okay, maybe a little too much discipline. One of the girls, Chris, refuses to serve these detentions, which leads her to plot her revenge against Carrie, with a little help from John Travolta. Sure, why not? Oh, and another slap in the face. As much as I have my doubts about Miss Collins, she is at least on Carrie's side, which is more than I can say for some teachers.
I really must say, I must confess, this poem displays the most extraordinary talent. Any criticisms?
It's beautiful.
Carrie White! Beautiful! Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain. Is that the beautiful you mean, is it, Carrie?
Do you love your job, sir, or do you hate it? I really can't tell. See this boy here with the beautiful poem? Well, his name is Tommy, and he's going out with Sue Snell. She wants to do a nice thing for Carrie, and asks Tommy to invite her to the prom. He does this, but Carrie believes that he's pulling some horrible prank on her and runs away. Thankfully, she doesn't slap him in the face. Miss Collins cheers her up by telling Carrie that she could look so pretty. I kind of see what she was trying to do, to build up Carrie's confidence, but it kind of implies that she looks a state to begin with. Which is true, I'm just saying. If someone went up to Aladdin and called him a diamond in the rough right to his face, I mean, it's not as bad as Riff Raff or Street Rat, but it's still a backhanded compliment, you know? Tommy swings by Carrie's house later in the day.
So this is where you live, huh?
Yes, I imagine so, Tommy. He convinces her to accept his invitation by asking over and over again. But yeah, he's a nice guy, so she agrees to go with him. Her mother does not like the idea.
Prom.
Yeah, senior prom. I want to start to try and be a whole person before it's too late for me to...
Foreshadowing.
After the blood come the boys, like sniffing dogs.
Do they? Do they really? Oh, bugger. Carrie demonstrates her powers and tells Margaret that things are going to be very different around here from now on.
I'm not the only one. Other people can do it. I read about it.
Yes, other people can do those things. People like... Actually, I can't think of any earlier examples in film, but I'm sure they're out there. In fact, it's implied that Carrie's powers came from her father, who long ago ran off with another woman, which is no surprise to me. Anyway, Margaret is sure that her daughter's being controlled by Satan, or is a witch, depending on the scene.
Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
Oh yeah, and another creepy Jesus, by the way. All this time, Chris and her friends are plotting something horrible for Carrie, we know not what. I wonder what will happen. Everybody's getting ready for prom.
Put on a tuxedo.
I don't have a tuxedo body.
I know they have tuxedos here for you.
Wait, what? I didn't speed that up. That's how the film is. Huh. Moving on. As Carrie makes herself look pretty for prom, we get a few references to the book.
Red. I might have known it would be red.
It's paint, Mama.
In the novel, Carrie's prom dress actually is red, but here I guess the mother just imagines that it is because Carrie equals Jezebel.
I can see your dirty pillows. Everyone will.
The dirty pillows thing gets its own bit of backstory in the book, when a young Carrie spots her neighbour sunbathing topless, and remarks that only bad women get those. At least according to Margaret. In the movie, Carrie displays a bit of common sense.
Breasts, Mama. They're called breasts. And every woman has them.
I'm guessing at some point that Miss Collins just directed her to this special little section of the school library. Tommy takes a nervous Carrie to the prom, but things seem to go smoothly, and she starts to enjoy herself.
I remember my prom. I had a date with the captain of the basketball team, and he was 6 feet 7 inches tall. So I went out and bought a pair of 3-inch spike heels so that our kiss goodnight would be less awkward. So by the time I got there, my feet were so covered with blisters that all I could do was just sit there, you know. I mean, I couldn't dance.
Oh no, had to take your shoes off. Shall I tell you about my Year 11 prom? I didn't have a date, for reasons. I didn't want to go anyway, my dress didn't fit, and I had the flu, so it was a pretty terrible evening. But it wasn't as bad as Carrie's is about to be, so mustn't grumble. I'm not sure to what extent Tommy actually likes Carrie. I mean, he could just be thinking, hey, my girlfriend's told me to be nice, I'ma give Carrie the full prom experience by whoa, what the hell is happening here? How in the wonky world is the cameraman doing that? He must be on a set of roller skates with a dog on a lead in front of him and a sausage on a string behind him. A lot of the camera work is interesting, including the Dutch angles from earlier, some good overhead shots from inside the prayer closet, and even a split screen effect later on. The music is pretty dreamy sounding a lot of the time, except when Carrie's manifesting her powers, and then we get good old psycho strings. Carrie is already having a lovely time, so she's even more surprised when she and Tommy are pronounced prom king and queen, the result of a rigged ballot by Chris and her friends. Their entire plan is coming together, and Sue spots this moments before the bucket is dumped. But Miss Collins pulls her away because what the hell are you even doing here? You're not wearing a chiffon dress and heels, get out! If you were watching this for the first time in the cinemas in 1976, I can't imagine how shocking this turn of events would be. But when the inevitable happens, it's awful, everybody is stunned, and you could hear a pin drop in the hall. In fact, you could hear a pair of Ladybird's knitting needles drop. Oh, and another slap in the face. Carrie suffers a psychotic break, imagining that everyone is laughing at her, and she lets them have it. I love the way she walks out of there. Okay, it's time to go home. Nobody's looking at you, it's fine, let's just get out of here. Ah, but don't worry, Chris and John Travolta get their comeuppance too. See, up comes the car. Like I mentioned at the start, it's very hard to be scared of someone you feel sorry for, at least in fiction. But villainous characters can win a little sympathy from the audience sometimes. Carrie is somebody who never caught a break in life, and likely never would have lived down an experience like this one. Now, there has been a recent spate of horror movie remakes which take usually classic horror icons, often stalker/slasher killers, and give them troubled backgrounds. This doesn't work because their going out and killing random teenagers is totally unrelated to their shitty childhoods. They never needed a motive to begin with. In the Rob Zombie reimagining of Halloween, there was no need to show how horrible Michael's family was because he was still going to stalk and slash every teenager in town 15 years later, and they're the main focus. In the remake of Black Christmas, there was no need to meet Billy's evil mother and his sister/daughter Agnes, because he's meant to be an unknown, and again, the teenagers he kills are the main focus. Let slashers be slashers, for God's sake, they don't need explaining. In Carrie's case, her years and years of torment cause her powers to manifest. And at the height of her rage and humiliation, she wipes out the people who caused her pain. This is a movie about revenge, not just random slashing. And so we need to understand Carrie's plight. Her powers are tied to her emotions. Her spree killing is terrifying because we know it could have been prevented. And this kind of happens in real life. Not to draw too much of a parallel, but you hear about people like Sung Hui Cho, social misfits who aren't mentally well and don't get the help they need and eventually snap and go on a shooting rampage at their school. This could be why the film strikes a chord with those who have been bullied or even bullied others. The effects can be devastating. Though, of course, the telekinesis does make things more dramatic. Yeah, I never did that to any of my bullies, but not for lack of trying. Carrie comes home and finds the house full of candles. Wow, I never knew we had so many. Her mother is kind enough to let her have a bath before confronting her, telling Carrie that her conception was the result of forced sexual intercourse which Margaret admits to having enjoyed. So she treats Carrie that way because she is ashamed of her own perceived sin. She sees Carrie as a manifestation of sin, a witch, a devil, and so she prepares to kill her. Not cool, Mother. Not cool. Carrie manages to crucify her mother, making her look just like that poor creepy guy in her closet. Devastated, Carrie kills herself by bringing down the entire building. Death by house. No, not that one. The novel version ends on a rather somber note, with the residents of the town never getting over the events of prom night. In the film, Sue Snell walks to the site of Carrie's burial? Well, she kind of buried herself. Sue lays the flowers down, and... Oh yeah! Surprise ending! That's how you do it, modern movies. You build it up as much as possible beforehand. No more cheap jump scare suddenly jolt awake corpses. This is how it's done. And that was the original Carrie, a very different kind of horror movie. It's subtle. The character is an interesting one, simultaneously weak and overpowered. Her ordeal is so engaging that the supernatural elements seem almost incidental. The movie's not perfect, though. Some of the music is a bit daft, and certain scenes could have been shorter or just cut from the film altogether. But still, it's an important horror movie with themes and everything, and I'm willing to bet it's the best adaptation of the story. Last but not least, it makes a bloody good DVD cover. And a good Halloween costume come to that. And for those reasons, I give this film 8 jam sandwiches out of 10. Well, it's time for me to go out and meet some friends. Have a safe and fun-filled Halloween. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheerio. But apparently women are evil, and so they must be punished. Punish, punish, punish.